Section and story title? Uh-oh, audio's off, mute. Okay, it's not just, yeah, perfect.
I'm trying to pull this up where I can screen share it in a second.
Perfect.
I'm from Campbell County though, and I'm doing Cinderella. Can y'all see that?
I can see you and I can see your PowerPoint.
Okay.
I like your background too.
It's not working.
Okay, so if you don't want to make it full screen, it's okay. Yeah, there you go.
So once upon a time, there was a girl named Cinderella who lived with her stepmother, Lady Tremaine, and her stepsisters Anastasia and Gisela. They were all very evil. She was forced to do all the housework and was mistreated and very unhappy. After getting an invite to the ball, Cinderella got all dressed up and was super excited. Her evil mother said she wasn't allowed to attend, though. Her fairy godmother showed up and saved the night. She made Cinderella look beautiful, but there were some conditions to the magic. Cinderella was supposed to be home by midnight before the magic wore off. She had met Prince Charming and was having such a good time and lost track of time. When she realized it was almost midnight, she ran off in a hurry, losing a personal item. Although she didn't make it all the way home before the magic wore off, her carriage changed back into a pumpkin and she was back in her normal clothes. Prince Charming found Cinderella's glass slipper as she was running away at the ball. He looked all over for her. He went to every person in the village and asked them to try on the slipper, trying to find his princess. When he arrived at Cinderella's, her evil mother had locked her up so she couldn't try the slipper on and prove that she was Cinderella. She got out of her room just in time to try her slipper on. Cinderella tried her slipper on and it still fit perfectly. When Prince Charming realized who it was, he said that it was his one and only Cinderella. He took her by the hand and made her his bride. Cinderella lived a much happier life in love.
And the time on that one?
It was 2 minutes and 44 seconds.
All right. So hopefully we're going to get these other guys and so it's just Nick, and I thought there was one other person who had not completed a storytelling, but maybe they'll let us know so we can get that in today. I'm going to take you through a little bit of the PowerPoint reminders, and then we're going to do an exercise on how to say your cites, because your informative speech is coming up next Tuesday. It is not just, I'm going to tell you about this place that I already know. It is that you as a collegiate student have gone out and found lots of resources, a minimum of 5. And on the bottom of your outline, you are going to put a works cited, which is something you wrote in formal English papers before. The difference in a speech class is that we don't have to just use academic journals and books and formal things. In our speeches, we can raise our authority, our credibility as a speaker by even citing, telling stories and saying something that like the director of some place said, like something that was kept in a reflection journal or a diary. We can bring those kinds of things in and cite them. Videos, different pieces of I don't know, pamphlets and things like that. So you can go ahead and give credit to and say a source, and we're going to talk about how to do that and how to put it in your outline form too. Okay, day 5, PowerPoint, share screen. Before you do any of your expository speeches, that's our informative, our demonstration speech when you show us how to do something, and our persuasive when you convince us to take action. Before you compose any kind of message, you need to think, what's my purpose? What's my specific purpose? Am I entertaining, like our stories often did? Am I informing? Am I persuading you? Or am I just saying something to make me feel good, to get it out? How many of you had an English teacher tell you there are 3 reasons to write? To inform. What's the other ones? We write to inform, persuade, and entertain. You ever have an English teacher tell you that? You heard those phrasing? I always add a 4th purpose. When my daughter calls her grandma, she'd be like a teenager down in Florida, and she'd call her grandma, and she'd be like, whoa, 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 and you're letting it all out. Do you have a friend that you feel you can talk to and you just whoa, 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 let it out? There's a Greek word for that, and it's called catharsis. So I'm actually going to insert a new slide real fast for my future classes, because this is a great place for me to remember to put the 4 purposes: inform, persuade, entertain, and catharsis. Catharsis is a Greek word, and it means to cleanse. And so these are purposes. And I'll put a new graphic in there and everything later, but there we go. Your informative speech has a lot of things, and these are all in your course outline, and if they're not, you're supposed to remember to have told me about it. My outline wasn't right. You have not only to drop your outline plan in, but you also need filling in all of the components from attention getter down to the closer line. But I want you to highlight your citations. So where you, Julia, what's your topic going to be?
It's going to be over the Cumberland Playhouse.
Oh, good. I've seen a lot of those. And by the way, if you haven't looked at the informative resources yet, there's 1 PowerPoint and 1 video about that you can review. Smart speakers don't have to create everything from themselves. You can look at other sources to get your ideas clarified, or to go, oh yeah, I could say that, or oh yeah, I could use that picture, and you go to Google Images and you find it, As long as you give credit to the sources that support you, it's totally fine to use them in a speech. So thank you, Julia, for that example. So if she highlights that James Crabtree, who kind of runs the whole place, not management, but he's in charge of it all. His parents actually started it. So if she says James Crabtree indicates that their Actors Guild is so developed now that they can put on plays, more rapidly, but they still use community actors. That's a whole citation that you could say in your speech. If you write James Crabtree indicates blah, 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 blah on your outline, saying that's going to be a citation, I want you to highlight that. where you have planned exactly how and where you're going to put citations on your plan, your outline. I want that highlighted. Excuse me. Then at the bottom, you need to make a works cited. If you've played with CiteFast, you could go and create a folder for Cumberland County Playhouse or whatever that is, and say CCP informative speech. And every time you talk to someone, you can click on interview, and it asks you for the date and the different information. You fill in all the stuff you can and save that citation, and you can keep adding to it. When you export that to Word, you're going to have a nice MLA works cited. Hopefully you remember that the headings need to be centered. And then you just copy that. You export it to Word, copy that, and put it in the bottom of your outline. Somebody tell me what I just said you have to turn in with this outline.
Your works cited.
Anything more? Did you guys hear anything more from what I just went blah, blah, blah? Where do you find the outline? Now you've had a chance to play around in momentum. Where do you find the outline?
You can find it under speech resources. I think it's speech resources, and then you go to, it's like past the personal experience stories. It should be the second one down.
Yeah, past the storytelling. Excellent, Megan. You can also find it in Dropbox. I've actually put it in both places, and on your course outline, I think I even put a direct link to it. I said, here's the pathway with that whole speech resources, informative content, speech resources, informative. And then I said, or click here. By the way, thank you, you guys that answer, because what that allows the other listeners to do is Morphew's not just going push, 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 telling you so much stuff. You can tell me what you think, and I can clarify or confirm. Good communicators do that. You stop the flow, you ask a response, and it makes sure it confirms whether they understand. So you can extend it or correct it, okay? All right, so you've got the outline done, and even probably before that, I think, because on the due dates, it's due sooner, you have a written grade. So it's since you only have a few written assignments, you really want that in on time. You need to post, I'm doing the Cumberland County Playhouse and their benefits are this, this, and this. Or just the sentence, the Cumberland County Playhouse in Crossville, Tennessee benefits our community by this, this, and this. Or the 3 benefits of the Cumberland County Playhouse for Crossville, Tennessee, and surrounding, actually, people come from all over the states and the world to come see us. So the 3 benefits of the Cumberland County Playhouse are this, this, and this. However you want to phrase it, that needs to be posted in the discussion forum that says that this is what it's for. I think I put on the slide discussion number 3. I hope that's right. And it is. Then, by a certain date, you need to read all everybody else's. You know, it's so easy. It's a one-liner, generally, sometimes one paragraph. And you need to connect to that. You need to reply to 2 of them, minimum. I've had people reply to everybody, and it's awesome because the peers feel your love. You can say all the stuff about, oh, hey, I go there every week, or I volunteer there, and I love this topic because of this or that. You can actually even use a meme if it extends your message. So you don't just want to go rah, rah. You are in college, you need to think about how you can even help your peers. You can ask questions. You know, maybe you'd say, I go there every week and volunteer. Have you ever done that? And do you know anybody else that does that? And then that person would go like, oh yeah, I could say that in my speech. Aaliyah asked me if I volunteer. Well, no, I haven't yet, but I'm thinking about it. Or maybe when I grow up and have a little more time. And by the way, when I say grow up, I often say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor and write a book. So that's not any kind of talk about your age. I am taking this off. You do not post your speech in a URL. I'm gonna leave it on there so you can tell everybody that's freaking out, oh my gosh, do we have to do a video? I'm leaving it on there because I may use this PowerPoint or adapt it for my future classes if they get kicked all online. So just I'll do this. Let's see, home and cross out. But tell the people that missed listening to my talk right now, tell them that no, we voted as a class and Morphew is going to let us do it live. Okay? All right. I already told you the thing about the citations. When you do your work cited, by the way, for every class, you do what the professor wants. Miss M, Morphew likes date cited to be clicked. In MLA 8, you don't always have to do that if you went right by the formal rules, but Morphew likes it, so do it. Okay. Any questions about the outline or the discussion post? Clarifications?
I have a question about the outline.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we have to like put our exact quote in the outline, or can we just do like a general sentence and then like highlight it and put our source under it?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me do a stop share here and go to our outline. And I need to put a slide in there. Am I on my PowerPoint, or did I get to our webpage for you?
You're on the PowerPoint.
Screw it, sorry. All right, so try it again. By the way, as a speaker, it sounds awkward when they go like, oh, am I in the right place? But it'd be better to ask if you're in the right place, would it not, than it would be to, I'm wondering if I can, I don't want the rubric. I'm trying to get, which one's my desktop? Oh, there, sorry. But it'd be better to ask in advance than to start talking about something that they're not seeing. You should be seeing my COMM2025. Are you seeing it? Cool. All right. I specifically said I want you to look at the outline. So there's a couple of ways to get to the outline, just like there are to get to the rubric. Content, and we just talked about it. I can try this. Search box, informative outline. I can go in Dropbox. I can go in the whole pathway thing. If you see a numerous ones, I don't know why I'm showing so many different ones, go to the most recent. And if it takes forever to load, you can always go to download and boom, it opens up. It's being a little long, so I'm going to click download. Hello, where'd you go? Okay. And I'm going to make it bigger. It is, your outline is in time. I have everybody do everything in Times New Roman 12. And my reason for doing that is it's a good thing to practice. But honestly, your outline is not such a big deal. That's not very big, is it? Oh, I know what I can do. I'll just go down from 100% to a little larger. There. All right. First of all, if you did Dropbox test, you know that this blue stuff is important to know, but it is not essential to turn it in. So I give you these hints, and I'm going to get rid of that before I type in stuff. Type in your name, your date, your section. Your specific purpose is listed for you. You just need to say what the group is. For those who don't know, CCP is the short way of saying Cumberland County Playhouse. Mary and Paul Crabtree established this playhouse over 50 years ago. In fact, who is anybody doing it besides the one? Did you know that there is a PBS special called, and write this down if you've got CCP, there's a PBS special, Public Broadcasting System special, called Bright Lights, Little City. And that is a show they put on PBS about the Cumberland County Playhouse's 50th anniversary. So say I'm doing CCP. I don't have to highlight that. By the end of my speech, my audience should, and since I'm informing them, they should probably know the benefits of CCP, Cumberland County Playhouse. Get it? Now, this whole useful sentence is not always needed to be said. You don't have to say, you need to know these because, this will be useful for you to know because of this. However, as a speaker, you need to know personally why a topic is useful. And if you know that in your heart, you will guide your message. You will form your message so that it will connect and be meaningful to your audience. In demo speeches, when you are doing a demonstration speech, you need to actually tell them, this is why it's useful to you to know, okay? So you can go ahead and fill that out if you choose. I'd like you to write down what visuals you're going to use to connect and appeal to your audience, to extend your message. If you're going to do a PowerPoint or slideshow, hold up a little woof toy, you need to plan those things out. Because an outline is Y-O-U, usable for you. You need to have the whole thing scoped out for you, not just because Miss Morphew is going to see it, okay? Attention getters are some way you go into this that's going to really grab us. If we're physically in rooms, I've had people use audio sounds, dim lights, say stories, so they do the whole multi-sensory thing that related to their speech. I've had them have interesting pictures up. I've had them tell stories or do some kind of descriptive things. So an attention getter, gives startling facts, is going to get our interest and kind of cue us in. I said telling a story already. Telling stories are great ways to get us connected. But you're going to prime the listener's minds with an attention getter. Credibility is something we're going to cover today. And you need to know this. Credibility is all about you. Why are you a credible, believable speaker about this topic? And you might tell a story, or you might give us some statements of what you do with this particular group, or how you ran across it randomly, and so you started researching it, how your mother went there and then you found it of value. You just tell us something that makes us understand why you are believable about this topic. Your thesis is easy, guys. Your thesis in this case is essentially the 3 benefits of the Cumberland County Playhouse, right? Okay, so however you want to write the sentences, you'd say CCP benefits the Cumberland County community and the Cumberland County, Tennessee, U.S. and international audiences. or communities. Okay? Whatever. Got it? That's you write a sentence there. Again, you're still not highlighting yet. That's only for your citations. Now, you're going to tell us if it's, we talked about this at the very end of class. We said that there are a number of things that are the benefits of particular businesses, organizations, or resources, and or the ones that we need, right? And the benefits can be economic. We said cultural. Do you remember any of the other ones we said? If they supply jobs, that's economic, right? If we pay taxes, that's economic. Cultural, you said something, you said other things like they help us.
Educational.
Say it again. Recreational stuff,
I said educational.
educational stuff, educational benefits. What else? Do you remember? Something to do, maybe something about events. That would maybe go under cultural. Anyhow, historical, yes. So there's more reasons than we just given you topics for, but you need to think of 3 benefits that this provides that makes it worthy to inform us, okay? By the way, if you can think of 4 you want to cover, talk to me. It's all right. Some people literally do 2 points, but they really put a lot of different stories and facts and citations and illustrations. You know, they really put a lot in there for each of those 2 main points. This can flex, but I give you this outline structure because we know that research indicates listeners can follow 3 main points quite well, okay? Certain numbers, 3, 5, 7 are important. Most of your people that are teaching speech will say 3 is good. Now, each of these in the body, so I put my 3 points here. Say I said economic. Say I said, and by the way, don't put yours in this format yet. How about community volunteers or something? You can use these ideas, but don't steal them unless they work for your topic, guys, okay? Number 1, this is going to be a preview sentence. I can add it to thesis, and when I'm talking, I could say, the Cumberland County Playhouse benefits Cumberland County community members, and it benefits Tennessee, the United States, and international audiences that come to enjoy plays there. The benefits are many. They benefit the community economically, culturally, and they offer opportunities for community volunteering. Boom! Do you see how I didn't write the whole thing out, but I talked with this structure? The first thing here is a transition word, and I actually am going to put that transition word, that transition list in news. When you were doing your little old 5th grade English papers, did your teachers tell you to put first, next, finally, in conclusion? Okay. Those are great transition words. If you do that, by the way, you have 8 points on your outline because each one's worth 2 points. People who leave them off sound choppy. Stephanie, are you here? Dog it. Stephanie has a cultural cadence. She has a Hispanic cadence. They often speak without putting transitional sentences. Now, I know that because I taught all those Hispanic students in Tampa from different Hispanic countries. You need to practice inserting intentional transition phrases and words, okay? We got a good list you can choose from. Then each main point you have to write as a full sentence. So the simplest would be the first, and there's my transition word, right? The first benefit, in fact, let me move that up there so I don't screw people up thinking, oh, wait a minute, they didn't put that in there. The first benefit is economic, which is not the biggest benefit from CCP, but it offers tax stuff, it offers jobs, it offers all kinds of stuff, and people could research that and figure out who it gives jobs to, how much they get, and if it's relevant, toss it in. All right, but this has to be a full sentence. The first benefit of CCP is economic. Boom. Do you see how that's a sentence? If your transition and main point are a sentence, then you'll keep going back to saying that. And you give all the little ideas, jobs, taxes, blah, 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 whatever is economic here. Gas, the visitors, the hotels, whatever is of a benefit. And then you might tell a story, you might give a quote, you might give statistics, you might give any reasons, examples, explanations that are going to support that. So say I tell a story about my friend who works at where? Give me a hotel in here people would go to. Cumberland County people, talk to me. Give me a name of a hotel.
Motel 6.
Okay. All right. And that's where I'm going to toss in a story. Now you can write out your whole speech plan. Some people like to, or you can do it like this, okay? If I have my story about my friend who works at Motel 6, but I want to make a quote for them. Let's say my friend's name is, give me a name. Name, give me a name. Don't count on me. Come on.
Jessica.
All right. Jessica Rabbit says, y'all don't even know who that is, do you? That's too old for you. Jessica Rabbit says, and what could Jessica say that would be about the fact that she works at the hotel and she sees all these, something about the visitors from the Playhouse. What would she say? Kenry, can you make up a sentence? What would this hotel employee say that would indicate that people come to her hotel and say they're going to the Playhouse? Anything. Give me a sentence.
She could say something along the lines of, there's a show in town because the motel is always booming with people from up north, from out west, from across the country, always asking questions about where to go eat.
Oh my gosh, you're awesome. I'm glad I chose you. Okay, because there's always people from up north, out west. What did you just say?
Up north, out west, definitely out of town, because they're always asking where to go eat, where to shop, and the best places to golf. Like that's kind of that's how.
Oh, right.
And then it's crossbow.
Where to go eat? What else?
Shop.
Is it? Oh, that is such a great quote. Now that is a citation. I have put it in my outline. I'm going to make sure that I add that in there. And I am going to create an interview citation for my works cited. Okay? The actual citations are highlighted. The reason for that is highlighting actually engages with the brain. There's research on it, and it will allow you to remember, or be more likely to remember, to say your citations. 68% of you, I think it was, yesterday indicated that you're afraid you might forget to say your cites. And I have said to you to consider having it in a PowerPoint so that you can do that. I have a slide a little later on where I've put a statement and what source I got it from. And that's going to remind me to say, the Speaker's Guidebook, 4th edition, says this, or includes a list that says this, or like that, okay? Now, don't forget, you're going to put lots of supporting reasons, examples, stories, descriptions, and all of them in the first one's going to talk about whatever your first main point is. All of them in the second little block there are going to support your second main point, your second sentence or paragraph, body paragraph, and so forth. When you get to the very end, in conclusion, or to finish up, or whatever you want to use, or to sum it up, and then this is where you are basically saying there are 3 main benefits, or 3 benefits we can consider about the CCP are blah, blah, blah. How easy is this structure, guys? You see it? The closer line is no new info, but nothing in the conclusion has new information. The strongest speakers aren't going to confuse things and add something new, okay? But the closer could be an appeal where you say, so come on over and join us. Could be something, if you started an attention getter with a story about a night that your family went to there, or you went with your boyfriend on your first date or your girlfriend, sorry about that, guys, to the playhouse, you could start that in your attention getter. And when you get down here to the closer, you could write, so that was my first great date. And now maybe you'll enjoy it too, or something like that. But whatever you do, make your closer line strong, and then stop and look to your audience. If you're in person, you stop, you stand, that Will Rogers moment, and you look. If you're in Zoom, you do like several of you did today and yesterday, and you stop and you look at the camera like, I got you. You got my message. Okay. What do you think? Can you do this? Okay. I think you can. Remember, it's only 4 to 6 minutes, but you will be surprised at how fast it goes. And I want to recommend, based on some speeches we had today, that you not read it to us. Speaking of going fast, when you read, all of us, especially those who read fast, will read fast out loud. So that'll make you go and not get your time unit that you want to do. More than that, more importantly than time grades, it's hard to understand if we don't work on our delivery, specifically telling versus reading to us. Okay, it could be the best organization, and that's good, but it needs to be told. All right, now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. And give you a quick rundown on a few things about all of your remaining speeches. I misspelled that. Oh my goodness. So on the PowerPoint, I'm gonna have that misspelled. I didn't know why that looked wrong. We know that Aristotle has those 3 pillars of persuasion. You mentioned them. One of the guys told us ethos, pathos, logos. Ethos is whether, and Aristotle actually said ethos is the most important. Ethos is whether we trust the speaker and we trust the material. In today's news and social media, as we become even more polarized in opinions and begin to look at certain sources that we trust, that, you know, we already had that opinion, confirmatory bias, right? We already had that opinion, so we're going to go to the same kinds of sources with people with the same. You want to establish trust with your audience and let them know that you are an authority and you're using authoritative sources to say so also. Remember that credibility statement where you said, hey, why, here's a story of why I connect with my organization? That's ethos. The pathos is, or pathos if you will, but pathos is grabbing our emotions. And even in the storytelling, you could do that. How many of you kind of went on that journey with Kenra yesterday? She kind of got us emotionally involved with the whole fantasy of that child, and her eyes went up in her head. It gave us the delivery that increased the pathos. Some of you with your PowerPoints had these beautiful slides. That especially visual appeal is a powerful opportunity when you do any of our speeches. So increase the emotional appeal. That doesn't mean you have to be sappy. I had one student come to me. She's this tomboy in Cumberland County. Y'all may know Brianne. But she, you know, she fishes and she hunts and everything like that. And she came up to me one time. She'd been scoring low, and she was a good student who always scored high, but she would score low on her appeals. And she was mad at me because she's like, well, I did that. And we actually looked at some of her work in her outlines, and I said, yes, that's that, but the you really need to increase the emotion. And she said, I don't want to be all sappy. And I said, I get that, but you can make us laugh, you can make us cry, you can just kind of grab us with, I said, you love to fish, talk about topics that you really love. And if you're talking about putting a hook into this or that or whatever else, that's the whole topic there is going to increase appeals. Logos is what you do when you put in your logic and you put in your facts and you put in those explanations that will appeal to the mind. A lot of us think in different ways. Brianne thought in, I'm thinking it's Brianna, so I'm sorry if I messed up her name, but she thinks in logos and ethos, and she wasn't grabbing on the pathos. Different people feel different ways, so you need to try to increase all of your rhetorical appeals. Use all of these. Use facts, use stories, use visuals. I've already told you about this. I would not put a lot of text on any slide. There is no need. Put bullet points. If you need to use text, you use just what you need and you put the visuals. One more time, I'm going to remind you, if you have not seen Nancy Duarte's 5 Rules, it is exemplary for your expository speeches, your informative, your demo, and your persuasive. Expository like the old essay structure, like our outlines. So guys, you've gotten a ton of information, you've seen stories, but we're going to need to take a break. I want you to, during this 15-minute break, I want you to write down one sentence, not a lot of information. If you want to do a whole reflection, that's fine. But I want one sentence that either summarizes, compares, or captures some kind of idea about what we've covered so far. Okay? It is 9:10. I'll see you at, or 10:10 for those in Campbell. I'll see you in 15 minutes.
Can we do it in our reflection journal?
I think that's wise.
Okay.
Everybody got this down? Because I'm going to get off the screen share. Basically one sentence. I'll get coffee and be right back. Hey, Stephanie, you're on. Yay!
You're asking what it is or what?
Which TCAT?
Oh, which TCAT? I was just doing it as an organization as a whole.
Yeah, darling, are you talking about one specifically in your area? Which area are you? I forgot.
Crossville.
Yeah, okay. By the way, I just toured TCAT Harriman last week. In that one of those meetings, I said, I got to go to a meeting this afternoon. TCAT's an awesome organization to do. And what sources have you thought of so far?
Okay, so I have like an actual person. I'm not sure how to cite that either, as in like works cited.
Okay, so that's an interview. So write that down. When you do your works, your citefast.com bibliography, that'll be under interview, and you'll need to know the date that you talked to that person. So I've walked into TCATs, and I love the graduation ceremonies they do for their students. I think it really helps them feel that they have graduated, you know, that they've really earned an achievement. Have you ever walked in there to their main office?
Yeah, I've actually toured it, so could I use that as like a...
Okay, the touring date, and if a story happened then, I'm not sure how, you wouldn't do it in a formal English paper, right? But you could definitely use that story. But when you walked in there, aren't the hallways like, and bulletin boards filled with print material?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Do they have a website? That's another source. Any print
I
material?
use that, and I use like the TVR site and the TCAT Crossville site.
That's two right there. And by the way, let me share something I learned in my meeting this past week. There's something called Go Build Tennessee. And if you'll check out their website, they're associated with TCAT. Our dude, the Harriman director, he actually has 2 TCATs he's over, Chris Ayers. Turned me on to that for some project that we're doing. So that was neat. I don't know if that'll be relevant or not, but you can. And what if you, another interview with somebody who's gone there and what they're doing in their career or something?
Well, that's what I did. I had a person.
You have one person, but you could do 2 people. You could do the director and a student. You could do a teacher.
Okay, I think that should be fine.
Well, yeah, and you know what I'm going to recommend, Kimberlyn? Seriously consider going to the Roane State Library's webpage and click on chat and say, I'm going to talk about TCAT Crossville or the TCAT organization, and what sources do you recommend? I bet there's newspaper. I know that they do a great job in Crossville putting articles in the Crossville Chronicle. So those newspaper articles are things that can be quoted. Pictures can be gotten off of Google Images, but you wouldn't say Google Images says, you wouldn't say Wikipedia says, because they don't work, right?
Yeah.
But you could get stuff from it and find out what the original source was to cite. Great questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. About 2 more minutes, everybody. I'm glad I wrote down take a break at this time. I tend to get going and forget to do that. Welcome back. Megan, I wish my hair was as long as yours because you just whipped that right up on your head, didn't you?
Yeah, I recently just cut it, and I put a chemical relaxer in it because it's naturally curly, so it's like really long, and I don't like it.
Oh. Well, I always used to enjoy when my hair was longer, putting it in some sort of something or other. Did everybody that gave a story today get their feedback? Oh, good. I see a head nod on one. Okay, Nick never made it back, did he? So he didn't get a story done. All right. I'm going to go ahead and begin because we have, when are we out of here, guys? 10:50? So we only have 45 minutes. Let's get talking. PowerPoint. Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to do, oh, no, don't do that. I'd like you to type your one sentence and post it to everyone in chat. I'm going back to full screen so I can see what you type. Type one sentence to everybody. You college student, you. I am so glad to see all of the comments that the outline work that we did today makes it more clear. I love, love, love that several of you mentioned we've got to appeal to the audience. And we can do that with our delivery. We can do that with how well we've organized and carried our listeners. And we can do that with our content delivery, content. With those visuals and so forth. They don't have to just be appeals. They can be the actual message we want to send. Great. By the way, I hope I don't offend anybody. I believe in marriage, but I worked hard to get rid of that R. So when I send those emails, it's Ms. MS period. Okay. Ms. M. Excellent. Yeah, great comment about keeping the audience engaged. And one of the best ways on a Zoom thing is you be looking at the light. Look to the light. I'm so glad that you feel like we've increased our understanding of the outline. Now let's talk about the few things I also want to re-emphasize. By the way, that I just did, that was a transition statement. We've done this, now let's do this. And by saying it out loud, your minds began to organize knowing what we were doing. I hope I model some of this stuff. So you have this PDF of your PowerPoint already attached in News. And I wrote a note that I was going to send you a transition list and put it in News, but I don't need to. It's in the PowerPoint. If you go look at it, you can do that. I can't recall the source that I used with this, but don't forget, you need to state your purpose in your speeches, organize it so that it's going to be understandable, coherent, really hook us to start with. And then Megan, you just wrote in a note that now you know what to do to fix it. Don't forget, revision is not a 4-letter word. That's a Morphew quote. I'm going to put on a t-shirt someday and copyright. I've been saying it for years. Revision is not a bad thing. Don't forget to harness stories. When you toss those in, they're going to pull your listeners in. And it's not just you're bombarding them with facts, right? Always good to make your audience laugh. I don't think I do that intentionally, but sometimes people laugh at me and I laugh with them. So whatever works for you, see if you can raise the appeal that way. The quotes that you're going to use will raise the believability. If you use an authoritative source and you say what they say, you know, you quote them, you cite them, then you're going to raise your own credibility and your speech credibility. And it's suggested that you close with some strong line and stop and then look. When some of you guys were speaking, you did a great job of not only modulating your voice when you added, especially most of you, when you added dialogue where the character said something in the stories, or in your personal experience stories, you began to get more animated with your voice. So match your vocal delivery with your non-vocal cues. I saw a couple of students playing with some wires, and that's distracting. So be aware of your nonverbal cues. I saw a few messing with their hair or being uncomfortable, or even looking down to read. And that is a distraction. Remember, when you're presenting, it's all about the audience. So you got to connect with them. And even I have a hard time remembering I've got to look to the light if you're on a Zoom face-to-face. Animate your facial expressions appropriately, and I see you guys do it. Since we're on Zoom and we're so close up, even minor expressions, when you do a little sideways smile, or you like roll your eyes, or you look up to the ceiling, that's very appropriate and it enhances the telling. Remember to maintain eye contact. Try, if you're not a natural hand talker like Morphew, I use my hands when I speak. You know people like that, right? If you're not a natural one, I want you to plan 3 places where you're going to do a hand gesture. Somebody did that in the storytelling yesterday, where it was obvious they had intentionally planned a hand gesture, and I was like, yes, thank you. Remember to do that. You need to be expressive for your speeches. When you're in person, your body will be a bigger tool that you can use to connect that message. Be aware of your posture. I like to sit up straight, but then we get going for 3 hours on video. I'll do this and lay back. When you are the speaker, be aware of your posture. If you're intentionally doing something to act like you're a character, that's one thing. But if you look disconnected, we may be disconnected. And it says dress appropriately. This is, by the way, I should have started this with, the speaker's guidebook gives you some tips on how to use nonverbal communication. There, that's a citation, by the way. This is the slide where I actually wrote the source on here so I would remember to say my quote, and then I had my chart. but the red caught my eye and I forgot about saying it. Anyhow, you see how I did it? The Speaker's Guidebook, 4th edition, says blah, 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 blah. That's a cite. For you science people, all you people that are in the medical stuff, I put this. This is your vocal muscles, your vocal area there, with everything labeled. The air you put in, the air you put out, the intensity you add to your voice, you know, speaking from the diaphragm, and I'm holding underneath my, like at the bottom of your, it's a big muscle right underneath the bottom of your rib cage area, controls your pacing, whether you use a good pause, you control that all right here and down here in your diaphragm. It will intensify the tone or make it more gentle. You can increase your speed. And I really, we have at least one person that needs to be very clear and distinct. That means that some of your words need to be a little more crisp so that you'll be understood. One of the best tools that you guys have as a speaker is pause. The power of stopping and allowing the words to get processed in your listeners' minds. So remember the power of pause, okay? It's going to engage your listeners. Here again, the Speaker's Guidebook says that you can ask these questions of yourself to make your voice matter. I need to do a new design idea on this one, don't I? Because I've got my red thing cut off. There we go. I just clicked design ideas and my power. No, I want the font a little bigger on the, yeah, there we go. Your voice matters. I'll save that one. Your voice matters. Do you project authority and act like you know what you're talking about? Are you too loud? I can be accused of that at times. All of you did fine as far as your volume being too soft. I did notice that a couple of students get quieter at the end of your sentences, and those who are knowledgeable about speech call that dropping your sentence. You want to make sure that all of your words are heard. The only time I've heard monotone in here is when people were actually reading to us and it seemed like their pacing and their voice never changed. They didn't add dialogue that had a good vocal control for different characters. So just be aware of that. Again, you guys are going to be fine, but if you notice that you get comments about that, then you may want to make it an intentional practice to improve that. Use of pause is the first great tool for that, and then see if there's any area where you can emphasize your voice or reduce the emphasis, right? Couple were too fast, but that was all about reading to us. So is your rate of speech comfortable? I was impressed on this telling that there were less you know, I mean, and like. Some of you used a lot of that in your PES, and then you did a so much better job. I didn't hear that in the storytellings. Those are called vocal fillers or disfluencies that can impact the communication of your message. All right. I think I've got the rest of those already talked about. There we go. I've already talked about intentional gestures. You want to use those. I'm going to get rid of this text box in the back, and they say, oh, sorry, we don't have any design for the ideas for this slide. It's because Morphew put too many pictures on it. Look how simple you could add a gesture or two. See how these hands are? You can enumerate things by touching your, if you're counting off 1, 2, 3, that's always a great place. Did you guys watch Vanessa Van Edwards' 7 hand gestures for homework one night? Yeah. Did you catch that part about counting? Every time you count, you can hold up numbers or you can count them off. And you watched the guys that were so funny about the Stanford graduates, the CHOP, the gift, and what was the last one? CHOP was last. Oh, he touched his chest. So anytime there's emotional, even Vanessa Van Edwards said, you can just gesture by holding near your heart. And that says, this is important to me. So gestures are easy. Let's use them, even if we're on Zoom. Any comments? Okay. Now in college speeches, you are not just doing the 5th grade paper where you act like you're the expert who knows everything. You sound smarter because you're using other sources that you can quote and say, and this says so too, and this authoritative source says so too, or this one expands what I'm saying. Hear the example? So make sure you do your research. I've actually got a copy of this Aristotle on Rhetoric and had to spend an entire class, online graduate class, tearing that apart and reading it. Important to the field of communication, this whole on rhetoric. Now, some people say, well, can I cite myself? No, you can't say, I say blah, 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 or I had, but you can, in your credibility statement, say, here's how I connect, so you should be thinking I'm an authority. I'm worthy of speaking about this. You can add personal stories for your main points, but you can't cite yourself. I'm about to go to full screen. Did you notice how I cued myself to remind myself to go to full screen? If you're not looking at the PowerPoint right now, please do. I wrote go to full screen right here as an organizing moment to say, Morphew, you're going to be using some transitional slides and you want them to build. So you need to be in full screen to do that. This is a great technique if you're making a slide share, a PowerPoint or a Google Slides. And if there's other ones, you guys can tell me about them. I always learn new things when I have a class. Okay, so I am going to go to full screen and tell you about how to say cites and get you to do some stuff. In order to give you an example about source authority, I have thought about an example of the 5 stages of grief. I used this example because everybody had gotten sucked into only online last term. And I had gone to Zoom and we were all being like totally upheavaled. You know, I don't know if that's that's an adjective, but we were like all in a mess. And it was similar to having the stages of grief because we had to transition and change. The 5 stages of grief we're going to talk about as I show you this example is cited. This is the source I used. And all that information I could put in the bottom of an outline, not with a bullet point, put it in the proper, hanging indent and double spaced and Times New Roman. I could do that. Let's talk about how we can say a cite using Dr. Christina Gregory's 5 stages of grief. The Kubler-Ross grief cycle was made by some researchers. And here is a citation I could say. Researchers Kubler and Ross explain that we can remember the 5 stages of grief or loss with the acronym DABDA. And by the way, if somebody dies, if you lose a pet, if you quit a bad habit that you're used to using all the time, you'll go through these stages. And it's not that you're going to go through them in sequence. You could jump back and forth, but these have been researched that these are the stages you will go through. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so here's the 3 parts. I've highlighted researchers Kubler and Ross. That's who that doctor was talking about. That's the authority or the source. Then you put a verb in there. Or you can say, according to researchers Kubler and Ross, we can remember the 5 stages of grief or loss with DABDA. But you've got a verb in there, explain. See how they're highlighted? Thank you, Stephanie. And then you put whatever the fact is. So I've got that highlighted there. I'm back. Did you see the three parts? Source, verb, or you can start with according to and not put a verb in there, and fact. Okay, let's go back. Are you seeing my PowerPoint? Okay. Oh, it's making me do this part. Okay. It's not moving forward. There we go. So here are some verbs. I took a list in 2017 from the library, from our library, and I put these words in. Let me see if it'll allow me to fix exam. Nope, go back. Sorry. I have a capital in there I don't like. I gotta fix that. So you could use any of these verbs. Now, for anybody that's writing it down like a crazy person, you actually have that list in the PowerPoint PDF attached to news. Or you could find it by looking at the organization stuff on our momentum, okay? Grab a few of those words and write them down because you're gonna do something here in a second. And you can always use the word says, by the way, of course. Usually we don't use the word says in a formal speech unless we are like talking about an interview. Okay. I told you there were three parts. You can actually move those parts around. You can say the source name at the beginning of the sentence, at the middle of the sentence, or at the end of the sentence that you're saying out loud. Here's an example. And I hope you are doing the confidence and anxiety discussion because Amy Cuddy is an awesome researcher who has a viral TED Talk from 2012. And it talks about ways to physically, chemically raise your confidence. In her 2012 TED Talk, Amy Cuddy suggests is how you would do your cite. Or I could put her name in the middle. Power posing before an interview, Cuddy demonstrates, enhances this. Power posing enhances your confidence level. And then I can put her name, and look on the last example I've given you here. I actually said who she was and why she was more credible. I say, fake it till you make it, summarizes Harvard American social psychologist, author and speaker, Amy Cuddy. Now that's a mouthful, but if you practiced it enough, you could say it well and smoothly. I haven't said it since last term. Is that clear? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you, and I see them nodding, so they got it. Verbalize if you don't. So I have some flashcards, and I want you to take the source, and I actually put the whole work cited. So you can just remember how I said Amy Cuddy's this social psychologist from Harvard. You can take some information from the really well-developed works cited, and you've got a fact on the other side, and I want you to say a citation. And if you're looking at the Zoom camera, you could also put in a gesture. All right. Pick out what you might say in your works, from the works cited. And I even put an annotation that those facts were also found in the law office of Edgar Snyder and Associates. You can steal the date. You can steal any of the words in there that's going to make sense. And I want you to write down how you would say this in a speech. This actually is from a student's speech from her outline, and I got permission to use it and made a bunch of flashcards because she had a lot of cool cites. Does everybody have it written? I see some people still writing. All right, Bailey, I can't see you, but can you hear? Obviously you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Can you give me how you would say this citation? How you would say this cite?
Jessie Day says, okay, is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jessie Day says nearly 330,000 injuries occur each year from accidents caused by texting while driving.
Excellent. Now, guys, I don't know who Jessie Day is or why that person's important. Did anyone else cite Jessie Day but add a little bit more? I can't see you. I need to verbalize. Whoops. Sorry. I've screwed up. I went ahead. Can someone verbalize a way to say that and tell a little bit about Jessie to give that person authority?
I said, according to Jessie Day's 2016 blog, nearly 330,000 injuries occur each year from accidents caused by texting while driving.
Well done. Now, let's see. I said something like that, but I also added what the blog was about. Did anybody do the whole text to ticket blog line? Because we don't, again, I think that you were much more specific that Jessie Day had a blog, and you even gave the date. That was kind of cool because that says, hey, it's recent. Did nobody use the text to ticket blog? How could that be said?
Could you hold on, I gotta fix our volume. Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you say, I said in Jessie Day's blog, text to ticket, nearly 330,000 injuries occur each year from accidents caused by texting while driving?
Okay, try that again and be very crisp with your words.
According to Jessie Day's blog, text to ticket, nearly 330,000 injuries occur each year from accidents caused by texting while driving.
Yeah, that'll work. Jessie Day, a blogger who wrote about texts. No, I don't know how else to say it, but you play with it, guys. Do you see how you can say the source and say, by the way you're saying it is showing that that's an authority. So you can play with these things. Let's try one more. Good job, Carly. Thank you. Flashcard number 10 from Kelsey's outline was that safer alternatives were just around the corner. And by the way, this speech was done in 2016. And she had a horrific accident while texting on 4th Street in Crossville. So, you know, she wasn't like going fast. And she brought in her license plate that was all bent up, and she brought pictures and her ticket that the police gave her. And she had all this realia that she held up. And so that was interesting. She really did an awesome job. She added a lot of stories in there along with these facts. Okay, so this is Jake Fisher's. It is obviously an article from the New York Times, and that's said so in, when you do a cite, and you can add an annotation at the bottom, and so I put them in parentheses, but this is just extra information. When I turn in my works cited, I don't have to have that extra annotation on there. But to me as a learner or a speaker, it reminds me, why is this Jake Fisher important? There's a few facts about him in there that you wouldn't just see if you had a regular works cited stopping after the date. So everybody write a sentence about how you would say this when you were in the middle of a speech. Okay, Sarah, what'd you write?
Can you guys hear me? Oh.
Yes, people around you, around Sarah, please turn your volume off for a minute.
Okay. According to Jake Fisher from How to Stop People from Texting While Driving, safer alternatives for driving and text are just around the corner, states that safer alternatives are just around the corner.
Okay, did you hear the repetition? The article name had the actual fact in it too, right? So when you practice that, you'll hear that and you'll be able to revise that in some way. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, how about Nick, was that you or Caden that did the last time spoke up?
I did.
Okay, Caden, I don't see Nick here. I was going to get one of the guys, but you did last one. Let's try.
I don't care to do this one too.
All right, do this
You
one.
want?
You did a good job. Go ahead. Y'all did it. Whoops, I did it again. Sorry, just a moment. Okay, go ahead.
I said, Jake Fisher's New York Times article named How to Stop People from Texting While Driving says, safer alternatives are just around the corner.
Good. Did anybody use the idea that this New York Times author is also the director of auto testing for Consumer Reports? I put that information in there, and if you heard this in a speech, Jake Fisher, a New York Times author who also is director of auto testing for Consumer Reports, suggests that there are safer alternatives just around the corner. Doesn't that sound authoritative? We understand why this guy, so we got his name, but now we know why he is an authority. You guys may not be familiar with Consumer Reports, but they literally have magazines and online stuff. They have for decades been an eminent purveyor of what is the best dishwasher, what is the best car, what is the best dish soap, what is the best internet, and what they do is they get all these different ones and they test them rigorously, and then they put out these charts that say all the different qualities and what they're good at, and they use red circles and green circles and black circles and whatever. So it's kind of important for you to share why these guys are an authority, not just say Jake Fisher says, okay? It's better to say Jake Fisher says safer alternatives are just around the corner than just to say safer alternatives are just around the corner. But it's even better if we know as listeners why Jake is an authority. So look for that kind of information and see how you can fuse it in at the beginning, middle, or end of a citation in your outline and in your speech. What questions do you have? Clarifications? Okay. That's one of the hardest parts of doing my speeches. I can't tell you how many students say, I forgot to say my speeches or my citations. There are many tricks for remembering them. What can you imagine some of those tricks are?
Do what you did and add a cue.
Totally. Put it on a slide. Slides can help guide you. What else?
You could add a picture of the person who said it in your slide, and that'll make you remember to say it.
Absolutely. Visuals, you know, I told you Generation Z and even my generation, you know, I'm a boomer, right? Maybe even older than a boomer. My generation is even being more visually influenced. Society changes as technology changes. So yeah, that's a great idea. Do you ever hear of the old-fashioned way that speakers remember? Index cards. There were several people guilty today of, and I think maybe one or two yesterday, of reading from the screen. We can see when your eyes go to the left or to the right or down. And one method to overcome that is to actually have cue cards with the bullet points so that it's not just you reading every single word. It is better to engage with your audience than it is to make sure that you phrased it exactly. If you recall yesterday, I said, it's totally okay to say, I'm going to read this quote just to make sure I get it precisely correct, and then hold you, you know, and then read it, or look down on your screen and read it. When I was at UT, I was in a speech contest and I had made it to like the top 7, and I would write my things on here, but I would draw eyeballs with eyelashes, 2 little eyeballs with eyelashes to remember and look up. And look up. It helps, okay? So cue cards or some sort of thing. One student, when we were in our classroom and we had 5 Apple TVs, you guys in Cumberland can come over to room 139 and see me when we go back to campus. We have 5 Apple TVs, sort of like the Campbell room with all those TVs that Val Robinson does her classes in. One guy said, can we, if we're standing in the front of the room, there's a TV in the far back, can we put our script like a teleprompter on that? I said, absolutely you can. If you figure out how to do it. You know, you have to get the iPad and you have to connect with it, and you do that, you totally can do a teleprompter of some sort. You guys create solutions to make it work. The best way to do it is to practice. Best way to remember your speech is to practice. Okay? Now, ladies, gentlemen, I've got one final screen, so it looks like we're going to get out a little bit early today. What other question? And then I can stay here and do office hours if anybody wants a little hand holding or to share their documents or whatever you want to do. What further clarifications do you need? Can I offer?
When is our informative speech due?
If you look at the course outline, day 1 through 10, I believe it says Tuesday. On Monday, we're going to have the librarian come in. The head librarian is going to come in and guide us through using the library resources. And you can immediately begin to look for things on your on your, you can chat with the library. I've suggested with some people. So you can start looking now, but she's going to guide us through how to properly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have
What's
a
so funny,
question.
Miss Stephanie? Just a second, Megan. What's going on in your life, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm just so sore from soccer yesterday, so it hurts to move.
Oh, what'd you do? Did you go play soccer?
Yeah.
You said? I figured that was a personal experience story made into a storytelling. Yeah. Are you Josefina?
No, it's my brother's name, but I changed it into a girl name.
Is he Jose?
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Yes, Megan.
Is it okay if until we can go to like the library and get like a news article or something, if all of our sources for our paper are like websites, but we pulled an interview from one of the websites?
Yes, and research in college can be done with a lot of websites, but it really increases authenticity, and you'll be surprised what more you learn when you can physically go to a place. So consider that. What's your place? What's your group?
It's the Avalon Center, and I've emailed them twice and they still haven't emailed me back to get more information. And I emailed them, I think it was Tuesday and Wednesday.
Can you
Or
get
maybe Wednesday and Thursday. I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that. I noticed in my emails that Kimberlyn and Kenry have an email from David Lane. Did you guys see it? Okay, and I'm glad I get tagged in that. David's channel, his best media channel, is for texting to him, right? So sometimes I need to text him and remind him that a student has written something to him. And that's not a bad thing. That is knowing somebody's preferred channel. It's possible that Avalon best channel is phone calls.
Okay.
I'd call them.
Okay.
Have your good questions, and if they're too busy or you can only get the receptionist, you want to talk to the director, then I suggest that you say, may I set up an appointment to talk to the director on the phone?
Okay.
And
What if we actually interview someone from like the business we're doing? How do we, that's okay?
Perfect. How do you cite it, or what were you asking?
Like, yeah, because when like this stuff you showed us that you cited was like from like a resource. So what if it's like actually in person and it's just like you and that person?
Okay, let's do
Got
this fast. I'm going to confirm before I tell you this. It is called an interview. So you should be seeing my webpage for 079. I'm going to change that to CiteFast. I have a little bookmark here and I'm just going to click on it. CiteFast. And I see my name, so I'm logged into my account. If I go to webpage, book, journal, is there a place for interview? Yes. Interview. See interview? It will see, oh, and there you go. There's another answer. Is it a personal interview or an interview that's retrievable that you found on a website? Can you guys see that? Is it big enough? Or do I need to increase it? I'll just increase it there. So I clicked on interview over here, and you can either say, I went to that business and talked to that person, or I talked to that person on the phone, or you retrieved it from a line from a website. So great question, you guys. That's awesome. Okay. What else? What else?
Our outline is due tonight, isn't it?
Is it on the revised course outline?
I don't believe the revised one, but I think just like the first one.
Okay. Check the day 1 through 10. It supersedes.
Okay.
I thought I had removed the other. And again, if you recall, yesterday you guys talked to me about the hour-long organization and the hour-long fundamentals video, and I've told you I've tossed that. They had TBD, to be determined, in front of them, and frankly, I just didn't have time to make them all, and I think you guys are getting the information as we go, so I think we're good. Do look at the 1 through 10 one, Caden. If it says tonight, have it in by Sunday night, all right? Or Saturday night, okay. By the way, some of your teachers are mega strict on deadlines, and you cannot turn in stuff late. I mean, it won't be accepted, you'll have a 0. You need to know that. It's not like high school where you can go and beg and plead and that kind of stuff. You can try to communicate, but some of your teachers are, you know, it's like in the syllabus and they say, it's due this day, it's due that day, that's it. I happen to be a little more flexible. And what I say is, it's due this day. And the reason, by the way, it's due this day is so if I get the chance, I will offer feedback ideas to you. And then you might improve it before you are speaking. Some people will improve their speech even while they're speaking. They'll have the good outline and then they'll go, oh, I need to include this story. And they toss it in. As long as it doesn't take you off on too many rabbit trails and you keep the good basic organization, you can change it until you're out there talking to us, you know? Great, great questions.
It says the outline is due Day 6 by 11 p.m.
So that was Monday night at 11 p.m. Thank you, Kimberlyn, for checking that out. That seems awfully late, Day 6, because I can't really give you any feedback that night. If you want to get it in earlier, and I can't promise feedback, I hate to tell you, I used to do really complete feedback, but with my own graduate course that I'm taking, it's kind of kicking my butt, and I have a huge project due. So, but making the plan is a good idea. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have a final scene on the slide. Don't forget to check that course outline 1 through 10. This weekend actually has a lot of different homework due, and you are prepping and practicing and doing all those little things. I'd like to go to grades. I went to grades yesterday when I put the 069 PESs in, and I'll be putting the other ones in. I said by this weekend, I'm putting in all the grades. But I did notice that some people have every one of those little bitty things I've asked you to do submitted. I haven't looked at them yet, but if they're right, you're going to have 100s all across all those participation grades. Some people actually had nothing submitted. Did everybody get their tech figured out and get stuff submitted? You will have the opportunity to hang out here with me. I'm going to stick around and do what I call virtual office hours until the end of class. I'll stop the recording, but I will be here until 10:50 doing some stuff right in front of the computer. So if somebody wants to get their hand held a little bit, we will submit your SAT. We will submit your syllabus. We will do whatever you need to do. We will work on your outline. Or we will set an appointment for when we can do that. Because, by the way, all of your college instructors are supposed to be putting in 10 hours of what they call office hours. Some teachers call them student hours. In humanities classes, they want us to do 15 office hours a week. And that is just, you know, part of the benefits of college. You can ask your teacher for some help and hopefully they'll give it to you. So I'm available to you. So if you want to hang out and just say, hey, Morphew, can you meet with me from this time to this time? And I'll say, sure. And I'll give you a Zoom link and we'll do it. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording now. Any other good questions before I stop the recording? All right.